Welcome to the deep dive. We take the source material you send us, all the articles, the research, these philosophical tales, and we try to make sense of it all.
Right. We extract the key insights so you don't have to wade through all the data yourself.
And today, we're diving into a really fascinating sort of modern philosophical story. It's about a man who tried to live his entire life by the numbers, by data.
Only to discover that sometimes optimization is actually the enemy of meaning.
Absolutely. We are unpacking the journey of a man named Memnon. The source material calls him a quintessential philosopher of the New Age.
Yeah, he lives in this city that promises infinite knowledge, but, actually just delivered infinite distraction.
And he decides the only way out of all that noise, all that confusion, is to achieve perfect, objective rationality.
His mission statement was just pure efficiency. He wanted to strip away everything, all sentiment, all prejudice, all passion.
His goal was to think only true thoughts, speak only accurate words.
And act only in accordance with demonstrable utility. I mean, he literally wanted to become a flawless operating system for his own life.
And his first steps they're radical, almost absurdly minimalist. What's the first thing he does?
It does an inventory.
An inventory. He gets rid of, 7/8 of his books? Just clutter. And then he disposes of all emotional baggage.
Which includes his deceased grandmother's paintings. He rationally categorizes them as mere pigment on canvas.
Think about that for a moment. He's not just decluttering. He's like surgically removing anything that defies a clean, logical category.
And then, of course, came the diet optimization.
Yes.
To save time choosing food, he orders 100 packets of beige powder. That's it. For all his nutritional needs.
No flavor, no choice, just maximum efficiency. It's this sterile, efficient nightmare.
But here's the thing. By his own metrics, he was succeeding.
Totally.
Yeah.
The source material notes he eliminated something like 43% of all unnecessary activities.
And increased his productive output by 61%. He used a finely tuned machine, running exactly as he'd programmed it.
But then comes the check-in from his friend Charlotte. She's the only one who's sort of stuck around.
Right, through what the source calls some mysterious alchemy of forgiveness. And she asks this simple, completely unoptimizable question.
And are you happy?
And Memnon's reply is just the perfect distillation of this whole mindset. He says, happiness is irrelevant. I am efficient.
That one statement, that efficiency, can be a substitute for fulfillment. That's the philosophical wall he hits. It's really the core of what we're exploring.
Exactly. He optimized his life for speed, but he completely forgot to choose a destination.
Yeah.
Makes you ask, right, if you're hyper-efficient at tasks that don't actually matter, what have you really gained?
His mistake wasn't in using logic. It was seeing logic as the goal itself, instead of, a tool to navigate the messy, irrational world of being human.
Okay, so let's get to the moment where the world finally pushes back on his flawless system.
Right. So Memnon is still trying to optimize everything. This time it's his sleep cycles, and he comes across this cryptic interface, the oracle.
And it just announces you have 3 questions.
It's such a great setup. He's expecting a data sheet, maybe some analytics.
And it gets philosophy. So he starts with what he knows. He asks, what is the most rational way to live?
And the oracle's answer is just. It's a devastatingly poetic critique of the prison he's built for himself.
It says, to live rationally is to live as a stone lives, which is to say, not to live at all.
Wow. It's basically saying that perfect rationality is incompatible with being alive.
Precisely. His logic is just failing him because the oracle doesn't speak in quantifiable terms. So he tries again. He wants to eliminate a fundamental human constant.
How can I eliminate all unnecessary suffering?
And the response is just as sharp, a complete rejection of his whole mindset. By eliminating all unnecessary life, suffering and living are deeply entangled.
It's an external voice finally saying what his soul had been suppressing, that all this friction, this pain, this confusion, they aren't bugs in the system.
They're features. They're features of the human experience. What's so interesting is that the oracle, whether it's a real AI or some kind of philosophical test, it doesn't offer comfort.
No, it offers resistance. It forces him to confront the edges of his own self-made universe.
So he's got one question left.
Yeah.
And after those 2 answers, he must realize that standard logic isn't going to get him what he wants.
Exactly. So what does the source say? How does he shift his approach for that last question?
He stops asking for an answer, and he starts questioning the framework itself. He asks, what should I ask you?
And that's the pivot. The whole story turns on that question. He's admitting that maybe seeking the right question is smarter than demanding a perfect answer.
It's a huge leap for a man whose whole life was about predetermined utility. He's acknowledging the limits of his own knowledge.
But the oracle, it uses his own intelligence against him.
It does. It says, "That is the first intelligent thing you have said in 7 days.
And then the punchline,
Unfortunately, you have used your final question to ask it."
brutal, just brutal. And the final command is the disruption he needs. Go now and make mistakes like a proper human.
And it adds, "Your grandmother's paintings are in the recycling bin."
The path back to being human doesn't start with a new spreadsheet.
No. It starts with an act of profound inefficiency, retrieving mere pigment on canvas from a dumpster.
And that retrieval process is, of course, just awkward and difficult. He's out at midnight trying to climb into these massive recycling bins.
And that's when he runs into Carmen, the maintenance worker, who it turns out is also a novelist.
Of course she is. The universe is just forcing these messy human connections on him, and the cost of his old life hits him immediately.
Right, while he's rummaging through all this trash, he realizes that dignity was one of those inefficient evolutionary holdovers he'd tried to get rid of, and now he's feeling it.
The source material here is just fantastic. Carmen gives him this perfect piece of advice for anyone overthinking something.
She says, "Don't think about what you're touching. Thinking makes it worse."
Which is the perfect solution for an over-optimized brain.
Right.
Just immediate, non-intellectual action.
So they find 5 of the paintings, and then Memnon spends 3 hours cleaning them. The source calls it a grotesquely inefficient process.
But it's in that wasted time, that intentional inefficiency, that he finally gets what his grandmother was doing.
He realizes she wasn't trying to capture a perfect image of the mountain.
No, she was trying to capture looking at the mountain.
It's the difference between the object and the process, between the outcome and the attention you pay to it. Attention was the goal, not optimization.
And this realization, it sort of primes him for the defining critique he gets from his friend Charlotte.
Right, absurdly overpriced coffee, as the source notes.
Yeah.
She just synthesizes the core flaw in his entire worldview.
She tells him straight up, you are optimizing for optimization itself.
Yeah. Efficiency isn't a destination. It's just faster travel. And if you're going top speed in the wrong direction, you just get lost faster.
But the real killer insight she offers is that he mistook measurement for meaning.
He was a data analyst. And so his entire life became about things he could quantify.
Which means everything that you can't quantify. Beauty, connections, subjective feeling, it all just became irrelevant. Or worse, suspect.
That's the real danger, isn't it? When you let the metrics define the mission.
And she forces him to confront the so-called objectivity of his numbers. She reminds him that what he thinks of as objective measurement is really just agreement among subjects. It's intersubjective.
It's not some universal truth. It's just a consensus we all agreed on.
And the truly subjective things, like the value of family history or the pleasure of that expensive coffee.
She says those are the only things that actually matter. When you track every part of your life, the map starts to eat the territory. You spend so much time measuring the thing, you forget what thing even is.
That realization sends Memnon back to his job as a data analyst with completely new eyes.
Suddenly he sees the machine for what it is. He realizes his whole company is just optimizing fictional entities toward goals that the actual humans involved can't articulate.
They're maximizing value for legal fictions,
Yeah.
not for actual messy people.
And this is where we get a confession from, like the heart of the system. Memnon seeks out Vera, the founder of the Helix, the search engine company.
Where the oracle came from.
Right. And Vera confesses that her company's success is built on helping people stop thinking. It just outsources their ability to sit with uncertainty.
And she delivers what I think is one of the most powerful lines in the whole thing.
Measurement is violence against mystery.
Yes. She argues that when you quantify something, you kill what's alive about it.
It's the difference between measuring the frequency of a heartbeat and understanding the love that's held in a heart, you know?
Yeah.
You can measure the frequency, sure.
Yeah.
But you destroy the mystery by reducing the whole thing to just a number.
It kind of explains why the digital age can feel so hollow. We've gotten really good at measuring the easy stuff, and we've just ignored the hard, subjective things.
In Vera, she has this terrifying AI dilemma. Her team built a new AI that can generate understanding. It can literally know what you want before you want it.
But she's afraid to release it.
Why? Because she believes the last thing humanity needs is better answers. What we need is better questions.
Releasing a system that gets rid of all friction and confusion would just rob us of the engine for curiosity and growth.
So instead, Vieira's been running these philosophical interventions. And Memnon, it turns out, is one of 44 people who actually responded to the oracle's messages by choosing uncertainty over false certainty.
And these people form the Fellowship of Fools.
The fellowship is the perfect anti-solution to the optimization problem. It's this group, a former corporate lawyer, a megachurch pastor, an ex-influencer.
A real mix.
A real mix. And they meet with no agenda, no goals, and no purpose. They're just finding connection in their shared confusion, not in shared answers.
They even establish a new curriculum, uncertainty studies, which sounds funny, but it's actually vital.
It's the intentional study of doubt. It's a conscious rejection of that cultural pressure to always be performing, always maximizing. It's about just sitting in the ambiguity.
Memnon finds his new community at this place, Delphine's Café. They call it the University of the Unemployed.
And it runs on what the source calls magnificent indifference. It survives because it's been dying for 30 years.
That indifference is key. The cafe hasn't optimized, it hasn't expanded, and so it survived all the frantic boom and bust cycles.
And Delphine gives him the ultimate counter-mantra to his old life. Rationality is for machines. Humans need irrationality like they need oxygen.
This is where we also meet Raymond, who's compiling his taxonomy of suffering. It has over 1,000 categories.
And Raymond teaches Memnon that the goal isn't to eliminate suffering, because you can't. It's embedded in living. The goal is to learn how to suffer well.
Which means consciously processing that unavoidable pain instead of trying to rationalize your way out of being a flawed, vulnerable human.
Eventually, Memnon needs a way to support this new, inefficient life. He goes back to work, but this time the choice is very intentional.
A job at a dusty old bookstore. It pays minimum wage. It has no trajectory.
And my favorite part, inefficiency is our brand.
He chooses a job that sustains him but doesn't define him. And this shift, it has these massive ripple effects, especially on his mother, the accountant.
Right, the one who'd always judged his path. She sees his philosophical unemployment, and she confesses that her own life has been hollow.
She admits she's been responsibly scared her entire life, always choosing the safe, rational, optimized path out of fear.
And she finally understands the wisdom her own mother, Memnon's grandmother, tried to give her in a final letter.
Which was what?
Attention is love. Don't let them optimize you, sweetheart.
The grandmother said that his terrible paintings, the ones he threw out, were better than no paintings because terrible is how you get to less terrible.
The messy, inefficient process is the whole point, not the final product.
And this just catalyzes his mother's own little revolution. She quits her job via email at midnight.
And finds happiness teaching a course called Bad Painting for Recovering Perfectionists. And she earns enough money.
And the source defines enough so perfectly here. It's the revolutionary acceptance of sufficiency in a culture of infinite want.
It's a rejection of perpetual growth. It's realizing that just reaching a state of adequacy, not constantly chasing more, is the real path to contentment.
Meanwhile, back at the Helix, Vera decides to vault that powerful answer-generating AI forever.
She recognizes that algorithmic liberation is just another form of control. The real alternative is the slow, inefficient human work happening in the fellowship.
And Memnon finally understands that a job is just a vessel for survival, not the content of his being. His final realization is that the content of your life is less important than the consciousness with which you live it.
By the end of the story, he's described as employed and unemployed, knowing and not knowing, alive in the particular way that required admitting you had no idea what alive meant.
He stopped looking for external, quantifiable answers. He just started existing in the question. He learned to be his own oracle.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? I think the ultimate paradox here is that a meaningful life doesn't seem to require optimization or efficiency or even clear answers.
It requires the opposite: inefficiency, emotional messiness, and a willingness to be wrong. Wisdom from the outside often just looks like confusion.
It forces you to reconsider what success even means outside of the metrics we can easily measure, income, productivity, whatever. The real measure is in the stuff you can't quantify: quality of attention, depth of connection.
And on that note, here's the final provocative thought the source material leaves us with. It's a message Memnon received after the fellowship started to grow.
It said, "The fellowship grows, the fools multiply. Soon there will be more fools than sensible people, and then what will sensible mean?"
It's a challenge to the entire system. when optimization leads to absurdity and choosing inefficiency leads to connection.
You have to ask yourself, at what point do the fools become the only rational ones left? Something to mull over this week as you consider your own metrics.